Aloha, it's Dave Lawrence, and a big mahalo for joining me. Today we welcome one of the soulful voices in a truly legendary act. He's an original member of one of the best-known Philadelphia soul groups of all time. He and his band had 12 straight top 10 hits that have become a significant cultural contribution to American music. Fresh from a performance here in Honolulu, it's a pleasure to welcome an enduring flame in soul music history from the Stylistics Airrion Love. Aloha, Airrion.
Aloha, Dave. How's it going?
Aloha, my friend. Good. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Just cold. rather be back in Hawaii.
I bet. Really appreciate it.
Sure.
And Airrion, you are a person who has been in the music industry a long time. Just curious, how long does your connection personally go back with the islands?
Wow. I think the very first time we came to Hawaii was in 72. And I think we opened up for Al Green back then, yeah. 1972. Mm-hmm.
Ironic, he's coming to town in just a few weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And do you have any memories of that? Can you take me back in time to that performance?
Wow. I can't remember the arena that we performed at, but we opened the show for him, so our time was limited. I think we only had, 35 minutes, but that was the first time we came to Hawaii, and we just came in to do that show, and then we were out the very next day.
Wow, and that was probably the HIC, was the arena probably. It was a big.
Yes, yes.
A big room. That's amazing. And were there more experiences along the way where you were able to spend more significant time here?
Oh, yeah. Since then, wow, I can't even count the number of times. Still not as much as I would like to come to Hawaii, but these last 4 or 5 years, we've been managing to at least get in on the island at least once a year.
You have a very popular position in music here in the islands, maybe a surprise to some people on the mainland, but certainly, as you've noted, people go way back with the Stylistics here in the islands, and it's good that you feel that connection. Do you come when you're not touring? Is there ever a time that you visit Hawaii when you're just vacationing with your family?
Well, there's been times that I've extended the stay. Like we may come for 2-3 days, and then I may end up staying a week to enjoy it. I've done that in the past, but haven't been able to do that in, I would say, the last 8 years.
What has been your favorite? Have you visited the other islands?
Yes.
What has been your? Where have you gone besides Oahu?
I've been to Kauai, been to Maui, and right now I'm leaning towards Maui.
For another trip, you're saying? Yeah,
and one of my favorite places.
You had a good experience there. How long ago was that you were in Maui?
In fact, last year.
Okay.
Last year. Mm-hmm.
And of all your times here, Airrion, besides performance times, just personal times, are there any memories that come to mind that you'd like to share?
Wow. See, one time we came and we played on Kauai, and I stayed there. I think it was 3 days, and I met a couple who ran a I don't know what you call it, but you went out on their boat, and they went inside the caves and stuff, and then we anchored off the beach and we did snorkeling, and that was one of my memories of being on Kauai.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about a Maui?
Yeah, that was real nice. Maui, I haven't got the chance to actually stay there. Each time we've gone, we just performed there, but I never had a chance to stay on Maui.
You are a very fortunate man in that your position in having the Stylistics as a band, it continues to be a draw, and it really goes beyond the United States, as it has for many decades with the band. And I was hoping that you could, from a performer perspective, and maybe there really is no difference. Everyone has their own take on it, but if you would sort of enlighten me on your take on any potential differences between audiences when you think about perhaps your recent Asian tour and the dates that led to your arrival here in Hawaii.
Well, I know our Asian tour, we go to Japan every year, and now Japan is twice a year. We're scheduled to go back in April. We've been going to Japan every year for the last 30-something years. In fact, the first time that we went to Japan, it was like 300 yen to $1. That was how long. There's only thing I could actually say, it's the music of the Stylists. I think it's so identifiable across the board, even on overseas in countries that English is not the predominant language. People still get the love message that our music comes across. And along with Japan, Hawaii has always been there. But the only problem with Hawaii was never included with the Japanese tour. And we didn't come through Hawaii as many times as we would go to Japan, which is kind of like a good thing, too, because I think if people would get a chance to see us every year, they would probably get tired of seeing the group so much. So now I think it's working out that if we come, like a talk may have it that we may come again with the 70s Soul Jam sometime this summer. So I'm not 100% sure, but our music has always been accepted big there in Hawaii.
And when you think about Asia, though, I mean, when you look out in the crowd, are the fans just reacting differently? Does it mean something different over there, or is it basically the same thing?
Well, I think it's basically the same thing. Because, I mean, I look on the audience just like the show that we did in Honolulu. It was a lot of people in the audience from Japan,
sure,
and people from Hawaii. And I'm looking across the audience, and I can see tears in everybody's eye. And I'm saying, like, I wonder at what time did they start crying? You know, are the lyrics so identifiable that it brings emotion to people across the board, across language barriers or whatever? They still seem to be moved by music.
And you actually ask yourself that. I mean, that's a great memory. So you're standing there looking out at the crowd, and you see this reaction, and you literally do. You ask yourself, what was it that I did that provoked that? Is that what you're asking yourself?
Exactly.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That's fantastic. So the internet, and that's the thing that's, when you're doing an interview, obviously, with the Stylistics, and this is Airrion Love of the Stylistics taking time for us after their recent Honolulu gig. When you talk to a group like yourself, that's one of the fascinating qualities, and certainly you being a part of it, you know this better than anyone, but to a lot of fans, they may not appreciate how gigantic you are on an international level in countries where, as you just pointed out, English is not the dominant language. So that's why I'm always curious, when you've racked up such a long run in these countries, you do this real American soul music from an area. I'm from right outside of Philadelphia myself, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware. So.
Oh, very near. It's cold there too.
Yeah, my grandma lives in the same city as you in Philly. So I know the groove. So it's always, when you think of that kind of music and you think of the kind of numbers that you do in Asia and in other places where English isn't the top language, it's fascinating to see the connection that you make. And when you look around the globe, where is your international audience strongest?
Wow. Well, I can only judge by our touring. We tour the UK every year, and we tour Japan every year. Once in a while, we may get a chance to go to China, or just to Hong Kong, Singapore. We haven't been to Australia in over 15 years, but Manila, we've been to Manila with the last 4 years. And each of those countries in Asia has always been sold-out concerts.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And is there a favorite destination that you have of the? I've always known too about that England. You've basically identified where I thought it would be the strongest. I just wanted to, because you would know, where you're making it the most product is being moved. Is there a favorite place that you like to play in terms of the reaction from the audience, or is it something that no matter where you are, it's more about you delivering it?
Well, you know what? I do have my favorite places, and it may be favored for different reasons. I do enjoy and look forward to going to Japan each year, but Japan is hard. It's okay. What's different than touring Japan than touring England? When we tour the UK, there's a different venue, a different hotel every day, with only one show a night. In Japan, we may do like the Billboard Live in Tokyo. That may be for 7 days. So we're in a hotel for 7 days, but we're doing 2 shows a night.
Mm.
So that becomes harder to me touring Japan than touring England. But out of the two, I enjoy Japan the most.
And so that's your favorite place to go. Do you take advantage of the food, the culture? Is there something beyond the gig that is calling to you in Japan?
The food, the culture. There's always a problem with communication in Japan, but just the general makeup, the whole makeup of a Japanese person, just a little different than people stateside. They seem to be totally polite across the board. There's crime like in any city, but there's less crime in Japan than it is in Philadelphia for example. So I enjoy that. But it's just something about that country as a whole that I enjoy first. I look forward to it.
That's funny right there, bro. You've been really lucky in the last several years to have another thing come your way, which is a new record that is something that it's called That Same Way for folks. When exactly in the last couple of years did that come out?
Well, it's funny because it's only been released in Japan and England. They were the only 2 places that we got a record deal on. We're still trying to get a record deal here in the United States to get it released.
So they're imports that we have.
Exactly. So it was released last year in England and Japan, and Japan did a decent job in releasing it. We didn't like the way they did it. Released it in England at all. They packaged it with, I think, 12 or 15 older stylistic songs, and just put that as part of a compilation album. We didn't like that idea from the jump, but they went on and did it anyway.
That's unfortunate when that happens, and I know for a lot of fans it's been frustrating. You've described it well. The record isn't something that people can go out and get very easily. You have to be a real fan of soul or funk, and you got to give credit if you're an American fan, as people have for decades. A lot of those classic tracks, the first way fans could get them on CD in a lot of cases was as imports. Some of my my favorite Parliament Funkadelic records, for example, for a while, you could only get as imports. So certainly frustrating, though, if it comes out and it's not how you wanted it to be. How would you describe the current stuff, the material that's on That Same Way, in relation to the classic work? And I mean by that, as a guy you have a right to grow and evolve. No one should, it's tough when you love a band and you want it to be exactly how you remember it. But at the same time, you're a guy and you've got to grow up and grow and change. And that's just the evolution of life. When you think about your new music versus your old music, do you want it to be a departure from the past, or are you seeking to get back to a classic sound? Can you sort of describe it for me?
Well, I think anything that we record I think it should be identifiably stylistic. I think with the same way, and that was produced by Preston Glass. And now Preston is a student of Tom Bell. So Preston had worked with Tom Bell in the past, and he's familiar with Tom Bell's arrangement. And so working with Preston, we thought it was kind of like staying with that Tom Bell vein, but with a younger approach.
Right.
And that's what came across with me. I felt some of the songs, if someone heard it for the first time, they would say, yeah, that kind of sounds like the Stylistics. So I think that identifiable aspect of some of the music there is identifiably Stylistics. But there's some of the other things, if you listen to it for the first time, you wouldn't think it's the Stylistics. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, one thing is that now we're 40 years older
right.
than we were when we were working with Tom Bell. So if your shit don't change in 40 years, something's wrong, you know? Something's definitely wrong. So now, I mean, when I was in the studio back with Tom Bell, I was like 18, 19 years old. I mean, now I'm 60, you know, so I something should change.
Sure.
You know.
No, yeah. There's no question. Excuse me. The and I say that because everyone, like you said, I mean, that's why I introed it like I did. People have it's tough as a fan, but you have to let go of that and understand that you're a fan of the guy, and you got to let the guy grow up too. And just like you grew up, he's got to grow up in his stage of life. I was watching you from a whole different era, the era you were kind of alluding to. It was some classic Soul Train Stylistics video, and I was checking it out the other day because I knew I was going to get to speak with you, and you guys were on there with Don Cornelius, and you were playing You Make Me Feel Brand New. And, of course, that's a co-lead vocal for you, a massive hit, a huge, enduring song. Was that live right there on that when you did that, or was that a... You
know, I've seen a couple of shows that we did on Soul Train, and it was one version that I saw that it was live.
Of that tune?
Uh-huh.
This one looked live. It really did.
Yeah.
It did. I love those sideburns, my brother. They were looking...
Now they're a little gray. I have to touch them up every once in a while.
I know that you're still looking great. I saw a recent. I know what you're looking like today, but it was just good to see that. And what was Don Cornelius like to be around?
He was strange to me. He didn't have a lot to say. And then I remember when we did it. I remember sometimes not hearing what he was saying, and I think we did the show a total of 4 times.
Yeah, you're on there several times.
Yeah, and he was just, a little too cool for me. A little too cool. Yeah.
That's interesting to hear because he's such a character to watch. When you
yeah,
and his voice, he's got that voice.
Yeah. And he was just on the award show last year, and he was like going on and on and on and on. And I said, well, that's probably with age too. That's slowing him down. But he was strange then too.
And so you didn't have a close relationship at all with him?
No, not at all.
That's interesting. Now, that's a great insight that I'm sure fans will find precious. Or were there any differences? Did you ever do Dick Clark, American Bandstand?
No. Well, you know what? In my mind, I think that we did, but I don't totally remember. It might have been a dream or something that's in my mind, but I felt like we have done the Dick Clark show at least once, but I'm not 100% sure.
Were there, were there any television appearances that you remember fondly or you look back on and they come to mind as I ask you to think about times that the Stylistics have performed on TV. And I don't mean necessarily recent ones like one I'll be bringing up in a moment, but perhaps things in the past from that original era.
Well, you know what? TV show from England. It seemed like we were on it like every 2-3 months. Top of the Pops.
Nice.
And I remember a couple times they came to New York to take our segment for that, and then a few times we done it while we were in England too. But that's one of the shows that stand out.
Certainly, a very good memory and in a place. There's wonderful footage of you on YouTube from 1975 in London with Frida Payne.
Okay.
Have you ever seen those videos? It's a hotel.
Yeah, I sure did, and that was from the Cunard International Hotel.
Precisely.
Of a show that we did, and it's an illegal tape because we didn't agree to none of it, nor do we get any have gotten any royalties from it. In fact, when we came back from Japan and Hawaii, our manager had asked me, he said, "You know anything about a DVD with you guys and Frida Payne?" I said, "Yeah, I told you this 20 years ago, the first time I heard about it." But the guy that was the producer, promoter of the show, videotaped it, and Jeffrey Kruger. And there's some kind of way that is out now, but it's done. I don't think we'll ever see a dime on it, but yeah. But I do know about that tape. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I certainly would just encourage fans to not purchase it, but to check it out on YouTube, because you guys are in fine form, and I must say, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, Frida Payne, the outfit she's wearing, stunning in that thing. Yeah. That. Yeah. Is a great performance from you guys as well. I grew up, as I mentioned earlier, outside the Philadelphia area myself, and when you were young, just out of curiosity, what was it in terms of food that you enjoyed eating? Did they have Pat's, Jim's, Geno's, and Lee's back then, or were cheesesteaks not a part of your routine?
Okay, first of all, I'm offended for you to say back then, like it was that long ago. Yes, and they still have Pat's. I think Pat's cheesesteaks, Jim's cheesesteaks. They're still fully. Now they're not my favorite. Well, there's a Jim's on South Street.
That's the one.
And there's a Jim's on 61st Street in West Philly. The Jim's on 61st Street cheesesteaks taste better than the one on South Street.
Oh, really? I've never had that.
Yeah, and the one on South Street tastes better than the one up there, the Pat's. The way they serve up Pat's cheesesteak, I never liked it.
Oh, well, I mean, they don't even, it's just like a minute steak that they put onto a roll. It's sort of a history. That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say, but I didn't know, because, you're saying, I don't mean to age you. I hope it really didn't offend you.
No, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, I know. I figured as much. But, I mean, you just, I kept thinking to myself, where would he fall? Would he be more of a Pat's guy or a Jim's guy? And then I thought, well, I got to open it up. It could be a lot broader than that. So I'm thinking from your dialogue, you're clearly a Jim's guy. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I was born in North Philadelphia, grew up in North Philadelphia, and when I was coming up, there used to be a Pat cheesesteak about maybe 8-10 blocks from me. So maybe at 8 or 9 years old, my father used to put us in a car and then drive up to Pat's cheesesteak. So I remember that one. And now it's gone. You can probably see parts of the sign that used to be on that particular building, but that's when it was in North Philly. So now Pat's cheesesteak is strictly in South Philly.
That's where my dad grew up, South Philly, 8th and Shunk area, and that's where his... 8th
and where?
8th and Shunk.
Shunk? Oh, okay. I know where that's at. Yeah.
That's where he grew up. Are there, and Philadelphia has become, it's really something that you guys can proudly wear on your sleeve. It's such an influence of your sound. Were there favorite concert memories or inspirational moments that led to you as a young boy growing up in Philadelphia becoming this musical icon?
Wow. I used to, well, you're probably too young to remember the Uptown Theater.
I don't.
Yeah, that was at Broad and Dolphin Street. That's where all the Motown reviews, all the shows used to come to Philadelphia. And I remember from maybe age 12, 13, going to the Uptown Theater and watching the shows. And when the first show started, naturally with the crowd, by the time you got into the theater, you were in the back of the theater, and they would literally have like maybe 5 shows a day. And after each show, people would leave, and then you would try to just move up and get as close to the stage as possible. And then after that show, people would leave, and so by the 4th show, you may be pretty close to the stage. But going to those shows, watching the Temptations, watching Diana Ross and the Supremes, watching that whole Motown thing, I was dreaming back then that, this is what I want to do. I want to be up on that stage one day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those were the acts. So Supremes, Diana Ross. Who else did you see in concert that lit this fire?
Wow, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. Everybody, little Stevie Wonder. Because when I was coming up, the Motown sound was the big music of the day.
Right.
And so when the Motown Review came through, everybody that was on the Motown label, from the Marvelettes to Stevie Wonder, came through the air. Even saw James Brown, even though he wasn't with Motown, but our manager now, Jack Bart, his father used to manage James Brown. And the booking agency that was with Universal Attractions was the same agency that James Brown was with. So when our first record started to break around the country, we went on tour opening for James Brown. So we could really say that James Brown was really influential in our music, because by us traveling with him, he was working like 20,000 seat places, 30,000 seat places, and even though he gave us 15 or 20 minutes, people got a chance to hear our music and see us perform it. So James Brown definitely influential and pushing us, really.
Was he a nice guy to get to? I interviewed him on the telephone once, but I'm envious because obviously you spent a great deal of up-close time with him. What was he like as a person? Any memories of actually interacting with him that stand out?
Well, you know what? He was kind of like untouchable, unreachable. But by us being, like I said, 17 or 18 years old, everybody in this organization had to call him Mr. Brown. We always called him James, and he didn't like it too much, but he did it so much that he couldn't do too much about it. Yeah.
That is good stuff. Yeah, we called him Mr. I called him Mr. Brown, of course, when I interviewed him. So that's good stuff. You called him James. How about George Clinton? No, we never worked with George Clinton. Wow, were you ever a fan?
I like the stuff. Yeah, I like his music.
You ever met him?
No, nope. And that was, I guess, when they booked us, I guess it was like similar stuff or similar music that they would have us working with. Well, I don't know how they figured that out with James Brown, but that might have been just management pushing that, But we never had a chance to meet him.
Certainly, recent days of your career have brought you up close with many stars as we bring it full circle to today. One of the most compelling entertainers in British media. There are so many talented young British people. I must just give them a plug in general because I love Ricky Gervais. I love that guy, Sacha Cohen, Borat. Those two guys, both British. You were on in October of this past year, so just a couple months ago, with very talented guy Jonathan Ross.
Oh, right.
And what was any memories of that? I just think that guy I can just watch him. You know, he's not really well known here in America. You kind of have to dig to figure him out.
Right.
But any memories of doing that show, which had Christopher Walken and I think Green Day on it? You had a number.
Well, it's funny because let's see, I get my timeline together here. Year before last, we did the Jonathan Ross radio show.
Right.
And he was interviewing us, and we just like clicked, you know. And he said, "Okay, next year I want you guys to come on my TV show." And as he was talking off mic, and he said, "And what we'll probably do a 70s theme. So I want you to kind of to wear the bow ties and the ruffled shirts." And he said, "Okay, great. Well, that's what we do." So at the beginning of the UK tour last year, we came in a couple of days earlier to do the TV show, and we had just gotten a new valet who was my best friend's best friend. So his name is Malcolm, and I was showing him around London, so we were catching the tube and went down to Piccadilly. So we were coming back to the hotel, and the TV show is the next morning. So we're coming through the subway, and we see newspaper headlines, Jonathan Ross TV show canned. And I said, what? So I looked at Malcolm and said, what is that about? So we get back to the hotel, and I see a road manager from England, Mike. So I said, Mike, what's this about this Jonathan Ross show? He said, yeah. He said, it's canceled. I said, what? So he did something on his radio show. If I told this whole story, I probably wouldn't be 100% right. But they were getting on this famous British entertainer or actor granddaughter and saying some obscene things about her, and the public didn't like it, so they called into the show, and it got so much feedback they had to pull this TV show.
I remember.
Okay, so naturally we didn't get a chance to do it that year. The record company was pissed because everything. The album was being released. It was supposed to have been shown on his TV show. So by that being canceled, the whole thing about the new product being released, all the win in the sale was just taken out from the Jonathan Ross show.
Right.
So then we did it this year, last year. And that was supposed to be kind of like the makeup from when we did it before. But when we did it, it was kind of funny because we took the place of his
house band.
Yeah, four puffs and a piano player or something like that.
Right.
So we did that, and each person that came on, we brought them on with part of one of our songs. So I think we did like 4 different parts of a song, which was only like maybe 35, 40 seconds. But the other side of that, the nice part of that we were on camera the whole time throughout the show instead of just coming on and singing the song and just being done. So it was cool.
And you had fun. You changed the lyrics around. You were like mentioning him and stuff. I saw some of those tunes.
Right.
That was really funny. I mean, that was brilliant stuff. And so I'm assuming you had fun. I mean, it sounded like it was
great guy. Yeah, great guy, man.
He's talented, huh? I mean, he's so funny to listen to.
Yeah, and witty. I mean, we were going back and forth off camera on some things. He just, just very, very quick. quick with it.
Yeah, no, he is. He's and just for the sake of your experiences there, your feelings about London in general, which is besides Asia, would have to be the other biggest market for you guys, where soul and funk and classic music remains thriving. You're huge in London. Any feelings? Are you a big fan of the city, the food, the culture? Any memories there?
Well, I do like England. What gets me is that, excuse me, when we're there, if we're there for a 6 week tour, we're not in the same place longer than 2 days. You know, so we did the what was it? The O2, not the big place where Michael Jackson was supposed to be, but
That little club, the Indigo.
Yeah, Indigo, exactly. We did a show there, and last year was the first time we did it, and both times shows were sold out. You know, so we have a good following. Every time we do Liverpool is always sold out. This time we went to Ireland. We went to Dublin, and we hadn't been to Dublin in almost 20 years, and they had to add another show to Dublin at the end of the tour because those shows were sold out. So we definitely have an audience that's interested in our music in the UK.
They love you there.
Yeah,
they really do. It's impressive. It's a great city. I love London myself. One final question before I let you go, and certainly
Sure.
It's something I'm sure you've answered before, but if I didn't ask it, fans, would be outraged. How come? What is the status of your relationship, I guess, with Russell Tompkins Jr. and how is it that you guys are all alive but you just can't work together?
Well, I think if Russell had control of a plug to my life support, he would have pulled it out years ago. Russell left the group in April 2000, and it's just like any other thing, man. It's like you can be in a relationship or marriage so long, and you see the signs that things are starting to go wrong.
Sure.
You know, and I guess 4 or 5 years prior to Russell actually leaving, it was just no communicating. Well, I want to hear You Are Everything, and he just refused to do certain songs, you know, and it was just getting to the point where I was saying, you know what, if things don't start getting better, I'm going to quit.
Right.
And then the last year prior to him leaving, he started having voice problems. I mean, and we didn't know what was going on. Like, again, no communicating, but I knew in May we had a UK tour that was scheduled to start, and I wasn't going to California sounding the way that everything was sounding. And Herb and I was going to talk to him and say, well, look, you know, if something's wrong, maybe going to the hospital, we get somebody to try to replace you while you're in the hospital. And we were in St. Louis April 29th, and we were singing Brand New, and before Brand New was finished, he just said goodbye and turned and walked on stage.
Wow.
And he walked past our manager who was standing in the wings, and he said, that's it, that was my last show. So I thought I heard this, but I wasn't sure. So when we got into the dressing room, I said, well, Russ, let me ask you a question. And he went berserk. Started screaming, started hollering. I thought we actually were going to go to blows. I actually did. And he said, that's it. That's my last show, and I'm the F out of here. So Herb and I said, okay, well, you know, can't make this man stay. But a couple of years prior to that, like I said, knowing that things were going bad anyway, Herb had mentioned to E-Band, who's our lead singer now, that we don't know when it's going to happen, just be prepared when it does. And we flew home that Sunday. E-Band came to Philly that Monday. We rehearsed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, we went on with the new group in Cleveland, Ohio. And didn't hear anything from Russ. Started hearing little things that he was in the studio recording, and put a couple projects out, and nothing happened there. And then we started hearing that he was putting together a group, and we were going to call them Stylistics, and that's when we had a problem with that. We said, no, you can't do that.
Right.
So we went back and forth between our lawyers, and we finally agreed upon Russell Tacos Jr., the new Stylistics. And so he's working, but there's no communication whatsoever. I've heard in the past that I don't know exactly what it was, but it might be a Hall of Fame or something. And they approached him and actually wanted the whole group to do it.
Sure.
And he refused to do it. So.
Well, it remains to be seen if it'll ever happen, but certainly you've very eloquently explained why it's not happening these days, and you've gone on. You've done a remarkable job of keeping the legacy of the band going. I think you're to be commended for it, and it's you're welcome. It's fascinating listening to you talk about it, and it's been a great pleasure getting to speak with the one and only Airrion Love from the Stylistics. A big mahalo for taking time to be my guest.
Thank you, Dave. It was my pleasure. Enjoyed it.
It was really something. Thank you.
Hi, this is Airrion Love of the Stylistics, and you're listening to The Only Show That Matters with my friend Dave Lawrence. And look at that. It's 420. Happy 420.